Hi, and welcome to My Thriving Child Coffee Chat. It's Maggie and Millie, and today we're talking about fun and simple ways to work on pre-writing strokes outside. So previously we just talked about, in the last video, we talked about just pre-writing strokes 101, so what they are and just kind of the basics, why they're important, benefits of working on them, how to developmentally progress them. So kind of went through all those basics. You can look at the Prewriting Strokes 101 video for that information. And so this video is more so going over just these different fun activities that you can do outdoors to work on these pre-writing strokes. So in a fun way that feels like play. So first up is non-toxic finger paint. So this one's a fun one to just always do outside regardless, because paint can get everywhere and can be messy, which is good and fun, and we want them to get messy, but it can be a little bit easier outside. So you can just bring like cardboard paper out there, just whatever you want them to be painting on, and just dipping their pointer finger in that paint and working on those strokes. So wherever they're at, whether they're tracing, imitating, or copying, you can work on finger paint with those strokes. And so the great part about this and a lot of the other options is that it involves that sensory component. So they're not only getting that motor practice, but it's also giving their brain some of that sensory feedback. So it makes it easier for them to integrate that information. So the more senses that we can involve, the better it is for them. So that's really good. And then of course, also it helps with hypersensitivity. So if they have a tendency to be hypersensitive to touch, or they're not that way, but you don't want them to become that way, you can start to just get them familiar with a lot of different types of textures and sensory experiences. So finger paint would be one of those experiences. So that's kind of like a 2-for-1. So that's a good one to do outside to practice those pre-writing strokes. Another one is using a stick or again their finger for mud or dirt. So you can bring the mud over to like a paper plate. You could just use the stick in the mud on the ground. You can kind of do it however you'd like to, but again, just getting practice making those lines and shapes, and whether they're imitating you, copying you, whatever stage they're at, they can get practice with it, and it feels like play, and they're outside in nature. So it's just combining all of those things. And then if they use a stick to work on those strokes, they're also starting to build that grasp. So that like writing utensil grasp. And so that's another good way to work on that proper grasp pattern, and then also just strength. So, and then the finger, using your finger in the mud again is a sensory experience. So kind of for the reasons I listed before, that can be really fun for them, and then help them integrate that information and then expose them to a new sensory experience. So that would be number 2. I should note that there's 5 of these. So number 2 of 5. So the third one is chalk. So chalk is a great one that they can do just outside on the sidewalk or the patio. They're outdoors. It's a really great one to work on the tracing component, imitating and copying. And you can always break the chalk and make it a bit shorter if they're having trouble controlling it. Usually having a shorter writing utensil makes it a bit easier. But yeah, they get to be outside while they're working on that. And again, chalk is definitely still a sensory experience. So, and they're working on grasping it. So that grasp strength as well. So that's another really fun one to do outside to get practice with those pre-writing strokes. So it doesn't always have to be pencil and paper or even a marker or a colored pencil. You can kind of really get outside of the box and do all these fun things outside and still work on these pre-writing strokes. So another one is yogurt. So this one will add in a little bit of the taste sensory experience as well if they bring it to their mouth, but You can get just a paper plate as well. You can get, like strawberry yogurt, so it's colored, and again, they can use their finger in the yogurt to work on making those lines, imitating you, or copying whatever stroke that you make. So again, that sensory experience, and it's fun. They can make circles in the yogurt and things like that, so it becomes a really playful experience. And again, this is a good one to do outside when it gets a little bit messy, and if you're using just a natural yogurt, then it's good for being able to have a little bit of a taste of it as well. So number 5 is glow in the dark glue. So this one's super fun because not only do they have to use their grasp strength to form the strokes, and it's going to be a little bit harder, so they have to squeeze down on the glue to get it out while they're forming it, but they can also, once they have those lines on the piece of paper or shapes, whatever pre-writing stroke you're working on, later once it dries, you can take it out into the dark together outside and look at them and practice, running their finger over them, making the strokes, and it's glow in the dark, so it's fun. And again, it's another outdoors experience. So those are just some quick tips and activities that you can do, again, that are outside and that are fun ways to work on pre-writing strokes that aren't just the basic pencil to paper. They kind of involve more of those playful, fun components. So I hope you enjoy those, and the next video will be on Friday, and that's going to go over some different ways to work on scissor development in nature. So be looking for that on Friday, and thank you so much for joining the My Thriving Child Coffee Chat.